Hi, this is Tim Yoder with Fit Small Business. Today I'm evaluating the general accounting features of IconCMO. IconCMO is a software specifically for churches, and so we won't be evaluating a lot of the very specific church functions. We're going to evaluate today just the general accounting features and make sure that they're sufficient to do the accounting for your church organization. So let's get started. So I've just signed up for a free trial, logged in, and it brought me to this screen. Choose part of the system to get a quick and simple start. So let's go ahead and hit accounting and see what that does. Okay, and here it's going to talk to us about our chart of accounts. Very good. Okay, so let's look at our, looks like we have a menu bar over here on the left side. So we have organization. Okay, accounts receivable, preferences, contributions, accounting. So in our left menu bar here under General Ledger, we're going to find most of our accounting functions. And the first thing we can see here is a chart of accounts. Okay, and so this looks like a pretty standard chart of accounts. Looks like up here you can add a new account, make it a sub account if you want. And so good, it looks like it's very flexible as far as setting up your own chart of accounts. So that's very good. So let's take a little bit of an in-depth look into your accounts payable and bill management. And so let's enter an invoice here and see how this works. Good, so it looks like they've got some sample vendors set up here for us, so that's good. Let's go ahead and add an invoice for this office supply company that they already have set up for us. So we can set different terms if we want. So this means they have to pay us in 30 days. Okay, due date looks like it's automatic 30 days, but I'm sure we can change that if we would like. Actually, I guess it goes from this. So when we change this, that should automatically, yeah, that automatically changes the due date. Good. Okay, so we just need to add some information here. So let's make this out of the general fund. Expenditures, we are going to let's see, I guess, well, this is an accounts payable, so generally you debit, yeah, we need to debit this expense, so let's just say $1,000. Okay, let's say $1,000 up here. Okay, and let's post this invoice. Okay, so it shows we owe office supply $1,000. Okay, very good. Now let's see if we can. Let's see what happens. So let's say they're going to pay us now. So I think we can probably maybe select that, and let's hit post payments. Okay. So we're paying them. Sorry, yeah. So we're going to pay them using our checking account. Looks like we can put it on one of our credit cards if we want. So we're going to do it from our checking account, and we're going to pay office supply $1,000. But instead of paying them $1,000, can we short pay it? Let's say we only want to pay them $800 instead. Okay, very good. And let's say we want to print this. Can we print the check directly from the program? Check numbers 2 are not found. Okay, let's see. Let's change our check number up here to 1000. This is check number 1000. We want to print from check 1000 to check 1000. Print checks. Okay, well here we have print during post, so maybe we have to post them before we can print them. That would actually make sense. So we got print during post. Let's get post payments. Check number 1000 is already being used. Use a different check number. Okay, let's make this check number 10,000. Okay. Here we go. Okay, and perfect. We're able to print the check directly from the program. Very good. And we were able to short pay the invoice. Instead of 1,000, we only paid 800. So very good. So those are some nice features to have in your accounts payable. So let's hit close, and we can now see that we still owe $200. Now, can we do a credit memo? So let's say we've returned some office supplies for that extra two. That's what the $200 is, was a returned printer or something like that. So rather than pay the 200, we want a credit memo. So we can go up here, add credit memo. This is to the office supply, and this is a credit memo. Okay. And let's just put it again to our general fund. We'll just keep all the same things there. And here we're going to do a debit of, or a credit of $200. Okay, so you do have to enter the amount both here and there for the post credit memo to come out. And so let's hit post credit memo and close, and now we don't owe anything. So very good. So it looks like a very solid accounts payable. So that's very good. The last thing I'd like to look at for the accounts payable system is if we can attach a receipt. So it's not an absolute necessity, but it's kind of nice to be able to attach a receipt when you create an invoice here. So let's just do a new invoice. Yeah, I am not seeing anything here that would allow you to attach a receipt. Okay, so I'm going to say no, you can't attach a receipt. Again, not a huge deal. A lot of your for-profit software allows you to attach receipts. I would think that's just as important for nonprofits, but not an enormous problem. Okay, and then the last thing is, can we track payments to independent contractors that we're going to need to issue a 1098? So if you have somebody coming in doing some janitorial, something like that, you may have to issue them a 1098. It's kind of nice if your software would track that. So let's add a vendor and see if there's a place to put that you need to track them for 1098 purposes, or I'm sorry, 1099 purposes right here. Track for 1099. Yes, very good. So we can track payments for 1099s. Let me put that in my scorecard. Okay, great. Okay, so let's look at the accounts receivable function. Accounts payable is very good. So let's over here, let's go to accounts receivable. I'm guessing it looks pretty similar. So it looks like we have some customers already set up. So that's good. We'll just use the ones that are already set up. Let's add an invoice. Okay, looks like we can set the terms, the date. Okay, so we can set them into the general fund. Okay, line item description. I don't know. We'll just say miscellaneous. Actually, we could say, is there other funds here? We could say, I don't know, maybe childcare. Perhaps we have childcare that we, or preschool. There we go. We'll use preschool. Preschool quantity. So it looks like invoices utilize items, which a lot of software does. So if we want to bill Joseph, we're going to have an item. So we're going to charge him for a book, $20 for the book. Very good. Um, so this is fine. Most software will allow you, can we see, you can't add an item there. Most software will allow you to go ahead and send an invoice without having an item, but there's nothing wrong with using items. It's pretty handy. Um, but sometimes, you just got to build something unusual, and it'd be nice to do that without having to put in an item. Um, so I don't really like that you have to use an item, although I like using items in general. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's make this for a little bit more. Let's make this for 20, so $400. Okay, and let's post our invoice. Okay, now it pops up. We can print it. That's a very generic looking invoice, but that may not be a huge issue, but it'd be nice to maybe dress it up a little bit. We'll see what we can do. Okay, so that invoice is posted and they owe us $400. So let's look at a couple of things here. Let's see where we set up these items, see how much work that is. Oh, right here. So add edit items. So right now we only have one item set up. We could add a new item. And here we have to give a description of the item, the price of the item, and then where we want to record the revenue from that item. So you know what, that's fine. So it's very easy to set up the items, and so I guess I don't mind that we have to do that. But if you're sending a bill, sending an invoice for something you've never billed for before, you're going to have to come in and first set up the item code. I guess the other thing you could do is you could just set up a miscellaneous item and then use it for all the things that are a little bit unusual. Okay, very easy to set up an item, so that's not going to be a big hassle. The other thing I'm curious about is can we customize our invoices? So let's look at that. So I've done some looking around in the software as well as Googling for some help articles, and I don't see a way to make customized invoices in IconCMO. I don't think that's probably a major problem for church organizations. However, for-profit organizations often like to customize their invoices. So if that does matter to you, you might consider getting some invoicing software that's made more for-profit organizations so that you can have some more customized invoicing selections, and there are some actually free ones available. So Zoho Invoice comes to mind. So the invoices don't look great here, but it looks like the functionality of the invoice features is very good. So a couple other things we want to look at. Can we accept short payments? And so let's go ahead and collect a payment on this $400 from Joseph. So receive payments from Joseph, but instead of 400, let's say he's only going to pay us 300. Okay. So his check number, say, is 1230. It's not letting us receive a short payment. So that's a little bit of a problem. Okay. So I think our workaround, which I don't like it, but our workaround is going to have to be to first issue a credit to him. So let's do a credit memo to Joseph. But the problem is this means that we don't expect him to pay the leftover money, which we might be. Perhaps he just can't afford 400 this month, so he's sending us 300 this month and 100 next month. So this wouldn't work if that was the case. But what we can do is we can go in here and we can issue a credit memo for $100. Okay. Actually, we can say this was for 5 of them. So $100, post the credit memo. Okay, there's the credit memo. And now he only owes us 300, so we can go in and we can receive his $300 payment. But again, this isn't a very good solution. Because again, this is forgiving the $100. We don't want to forgive the $100. Oh, sorry. This is supposed to be the check number. Okay, so now we can accept the payments of $300. Oh, you know what? There it is. There it is. Okay. So let's forget that this thing exists here. Let's just look at this top one. We have to select it for payment. Now we can show $300 being paid. There we go. Okay, so it does allow us to receive a short payment. Very good. And there we go. So we could go into this screen. If we receive a whole bunch of payments during the day, you'd want to do this all at one time. Go in and record all the payments you received during the day, and then make one deposit. Okay, and the reason you want all your daily payments into one deposit is so that it shows up in your records as just a single deposit, not each individual check. It'll make your bank reconciliation much easier. Okay, so very good. So I would say their accounts receivable function, other than not being able to customize an invoice, which is not a big deal, I would think, for most churches. Accounts receivable looks really good. So let me fill out my scorecard. Now, what about a recurring invoice? About recurring batches. So add a new batch. Okay. And then, so within this new batch, it looks like we can add customers. Okay. Yeah, so do a little bit of work, but it looks like you do the recurring invoices in batches, which should be just fine. So we can do recurring invoices. Okay, excellent. We can accept short payments from customers. We can issue credit memos. Very good. Okay, so I'm very impressed with the accounts receivable and accounts payable functions. Let's look at the kind of the banking function now. We've already answered my first question, which is, can you actually print checks from the program? And you can. Okay, let's see if we can connect our bank to the software so that our bank account transactions flow over to our software. So let's go to banking. And it looks like it cannot. So we can enter our transactions manually. So obviously our checking transactions are showing up here automatically. Looks like that they've had some sample data in here already, showing some transactions. Very good. About our checkbook utility, what exactly is that? Okay, so the checkbook utility looks like it just kind of gives you a different view of it. Okay, and here we can reconcile. Let's see what the reconcile. So we choose the checking. Statements are for the year, gives us a beginning and ending balance. Okay, and then we go through. We can assign a service charge. Okay, looks like a very basic standard reconciliation screen, which is very good. Okay, so it looks like your bank accounts do not connect to your software, which honestly, in my opinion, that's not horrible, because with a church, where you're going to have to be very, very careful about your spending and classifications and everything, you're going to enter all of the transactions by hand anyway, so it's not as big a deal to have your accounts flow over from your transactions flow from your bank accounts. A lot of very, very small for-profit freelance people, etc., like to have that because they don't otherwise enter all the transactions into their software. They just wait for the transaction to flow through and then categorize it. Churches are a little bit different. You're going to be entering all of your transactions and activity as you go anyway. So to have those transactions flow over from the bank is not a big deal. You just need to make sure you do your reconciliation every month so that you make sure you pick up all your activity. Okay, so let me score the banking features here. So we cannot connect our bank to the software. However, it has excellent bank reconciliation screens there. Okay, and finally we want to look at our reports. And so I believe our reports are in our general ledger. Okay, and Here we go, general ledger reports. Okay, good. So we have budget reports. We have a cash balance, a cash flow report, our change in net assets. Okay. We're going to have a fund balance by checkbook, detailed general ledger account. Okay, very good. We have a revenue and expense, statements of activity, revenue. So this is kind of similar to what a for-profit company would call a profit and loss statement. So this is our statement of activities. Very good. We have a statement of financial position, which is what for-profit companies would call a balance sheet. Very good. Okay. We do have a trial balance. That's an important one. We have transaction account detail. Okay. But the only thing I really see that's missing is, so we have AP vendor by fund, but what we don't have is an accounts payable aging report and an accounts receivable aging report. So when we owe people money or people owe us money, we like to be able to see an aging report so we can see if any of those amounts are getting old. So if we're 90 days late paying somebody, then our accounts payable aging report would show us that, as well as if somebody is late paying us. So that's about the only report I don't see here that I would like to see. And certainly not as important for churches as a for-profit company, because there's not going to be nearly as many accounts payable and accounts receivable. Or at least accounts receivable. So it doesn't have the AR and AP aging. It would be nice if it did. Not a huge problem. It does have the balance sheet. It has the statement of activities. No AR aging, no AP aging. It does have a general ledger, and it has a trial balance. Okay, now the last thing I want to know here is, can we enter journal entries if we want to make a journal entry? And sure, looks like here you can make journal entries, debits, credits. Good, very basic, no problem entering a journal entry. And then the final thing is, can we share this with our accountant? And I think we should be able to. So wherever we set up our users, it seems like we could set up, here we go, maybe system, we could set up an accountant user. Here we go. So users. Okay, I want to add a new user. I can do a username, password, email. Okay, and then I could take away their read-write access to memberships and give them just read-write access to accounting forms. And there we go. So I could add my accountant, my external accountant, as an outside user. So if they need to see anything, they can. Okay. Very good. So I would say IconCMO, I am very happy with the basic accounting functions of them. So from that viewpoint, I think this is excellent software. So thank you very much. I hope you have a good afternoon. I hope you found this walkthrough of IconCMO helpful.